When I was growing up in Dallas, Texas, my family was always close-knit. We had Sunday dinners at my grandmother's house, where everyone would gather around the big oak table that had been in our family for generations. My uncle, David Miller, was always the quiet one in the family. He was my mom's younger brother, a man who kept to himself most of the time, rarely raising his voice, but always present at family gatherings. I never thought much about Uncle David. He wasn't married, didn't have children, and lived alone in a modest house not too far from ours. To me, he was just the uncle who told dry jokes and sometimes slipped me $20 bills when no one was watching. But one evening, everything changed when I stumbled upon something that shook me deeply. It was the summer before my senior year of high school. My parents had gone out for the evening, and my mom asked me to drop off some leftover food at Uncle David's house. She said he hadn't been eating well lately, and she worried about him. I didn't mind. I had my driver's license, and besides, Uncle David's place was only 10 minutes away. When I arrived, his truck was parked in the driveway. I knocked, but no one answered. The door was slightly open, which was unusual, but I assumed maybe he had stepped out back. I called his name, but again, no response. I pushed the door open gently, holding the bag of food. That's when I saw it. Uncle David was sitting on his old recliner, the glow of the television lighting up his face. His eyes were fixed on the screen, and his hands were clenched on the armrests. I followed his gaze, expecting to see a baseball game or one of those old Western movies he loved so much. But instead, what was playing on the TV left me frozen in place. It wasn't a game. It wasn't even a movie. It was a news documentary, one about corporate corruption, hidden scandals, and powerful people abusing their positions. The footage showed shocking interviews, whistleblowers exposing secrets, and hidden camera recordings. I realized my uncle wasn't just watching some random program. He was deeply involved in it. On the screen, one of the whistleblowers was speaking, and I recognized his voice. It was Uncle David's voice. I gasped, and he quickly turned off the TV, his face pale. "Emily, what are you doing here?" he asked, startled. I brought food," I stammered. "Uncle David, that was you on the TV. What's going on?" For a long moment, he said nothing. His eyes darted toward the door, then back to me. Finally, he sighed and motioned for me to sit down. That night, he revealed a part of his life that no one in our family knew. Uncle David had once worked for a major energy corporation in Texas. On the surface, the company looked like a respected giant, but behind the scenes, they were cutting corners, polluting communities, and covering it all up. David had discovered documents and evidence years ago when he was working as an internal auditor. Instead of staying quiet, he reported it. But his voice was silenced. He was forced out of his job, blacklisted from the industry, and threatened. "I lost everything because I spoke up," he said, his voice heavy. "I didn't tell anyone in the family because I didn't want to put you all in danger." I sat there stunned. My quiet, ordinary uncle wasn't ordinary at all. He was a whistleblower, a man who had risked his career and his safety to tell the truth. But that wasn't all. The documentary wasn't just a story from the past. It was an ongoing investigation. Uncle David had secretly been working with journalists to release new information. That's why he had been so withdrawn lately. That's why my mom said he wasn't eating well. He was carrying the weight of a storm that was about to break. Over the next few weeks, I became closer to him than ever before. I started visiting his house more often, bringing meals, keeping him company, and listening as he explained everything he had uncovered. He showed me files, photographs, and handwritten notes. It felt like I had stepped into a world of secrets far bigger than anything I had imagined. But soon, strange things began happening. One evening, I noticed a black SUV parked across from Uncle David's house. The same vehicle appeared the next day when I was leaving school. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but Uncle David noticed it too. He told me not to panic, but I could see the worry in his eyes. The pressure mounted when the documentary aired nationwide. Uncle David's face was on television, his voice recorded, his story laid bare for the entire country to see. Overnight, he went from being a quiet recluse to a man in the spotlight. The reaction from the public was overwhelming. Some praised him as a hero. Others called him a traitor. And then there were those who wanted him silenced for good. One night, the SUV outside wasn't just watching. It followed us as we drove home from the grocery store. Uncle David took sharp turns, trying to lose them, and eventually, the vehicle disappeared. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a story about corporate corruption. It was about survival. Through all of this, my respect for my uncle grew tenfold. He wasn't the quiet man in the corner anymore. He was brave, determined, and willing to stand for what was right, no matter the cost. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. The company executives were dragged into court, investigations opened, and lives changed. Uncle David testified, standing strong even when the defense tried to tear him apart. I watched from the courtroom, my heart pounding with pride. In the end, the truth prevailed. The corporation was fined billions, and strict reforms were put in place. Uncle David didn't gain wealth or fame. He never wanted that. What he gained was something far more valuable: peace of mind, knowing he had done the right thing. As for me, that summer changed everything. I no longer saw Uncle David as the quiet, lonely man in the family. I saw him as a hero, someone who taught me that courage isn't about loud speeches or dramatic gestures. Courage is doing the right thing when no one else will. Now, years later, every time I face a tough decision, I remember my uncle's words that night in his living room. Emily, sometimes the truth costs you everything. But if you stay silent, the cost is even greater. And that lesson changed my life forever.